Hey, family of God. This is Stephanie again, back with another video, hoping to inspire and encourage. This video today is about my testimony of a time where a gentleman that I knew and I were considering marriage. Before I start, let me just disclaim this. I am not a prophet. I'm not a teacher, preacher, evangelist. I'm not an apostle, a seer, etc. I am just a person that loves the Lord. I am an ambassador for the kingdom, if you will. Other than that, I don't do the title thing. I don't need a title. I'm not seeking to be anybody or anything other than show the love of God through my testimonies and just share the goodness of God that's been bestowed upon my life, and in the hopes that it will bless others, that it will encourage those who have turned away from the Lord to return to their first love, and for others who don't know the Lord to surrender their lives to Him. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Um, I just want to be obedient to God and be about my Father's business. That being said, some years ago, I want to say the end of 1992, 1993, I had returned to New York from a half a year being out west in Colorado with family. When I did return, I met this young man of God at that time, very young man of God. We were both fairly young because this is, like I said, the end of 92. So we're talking like what, close to 30 years ago or that. Um, so I meet this person and we befriended each other. Um, I visited his church a few times. We didn't live all that close, but close enough to see each other every once in a while, and definitely spent a lot of time on the phone with him. So, not long after befriending him, he began to tell me that God told him that I was going to be his wife. And I'm really going to try hard to make this very fast. But he began to tell me that God said I would be his wife. And let me tell you, I wasn't happy with that. Not in the least. Every time he'd say it, I would cringe. I wasn't attracted to him. I wasn't interested. He was pursuing being a pastor, and at that time, I definitely had no desire to be a pastor's wife. And then understand too, I was completely new to the faith. I had just given my life to the Lord early 1992, I believe in April. I was going to say February, but I think it was like April of 92. So all of this was new to me. I wasn't raised in the church. I've been to the church and been to church a few times as a child. Okay, but we were not raised in the church, so all of this was new to me. But what I did at least have by that time is that I had already read the Bible two times from that April of maybe even February, I started reading the Bible of 1992 till by the end of 92 or the beginning of 93 when I met this person. I had already read the Bible twice. So I had a lot of word in me. Okay. And I was able to, and also God had given me a great gift of discernment. So I just really wasn't feeling this person in that respect. So fast forward years later, I had left New York and moved back to Colorado, my child and I, in, let's see here, 94. Moved back to Colorado in 94, up until right now, in fact. And many years passed by that I had not spoken to this person. And so, being here in Colorado and it not being God's will for me to marry, and really not even to date, I really was very much secluded and to myself, other than family and my child, of course. And so, um, after some many years, this person and I reconnected. And when we reconnected, he came out here and he visited with us for about a week. And at that time, my mom and I were living together and my child. So he was able to stay in the house with us. Completely respectable visitation, right? So, nevertheless, by the time he left, I had kind of a change of heart. When you're alone long enough and the possibility of a mate comes along, sometimes your heart softens towards that person. And I'll say that's what happened with me. My heart began to soften towards him. But keep in mind this, I still wasn't attracted to him. I really was not interested in him as a husband. But flesh gets involved sometimes, and you start thinking, and of course, the enemy will put it in your mind that this may be your last chance. So I certainly was open to the possibility that if this is God, I don't want to miss anything that Father has for me, right? So here's what we decided to do. And what wisdom. Oh, you just have to love God and love the Holy Spirit. What wisdom. We came in agreement that we would fast and pray for a week on whether or not it was God's will for us to marry. And if God said yes, of course, we would move forward and pursue it. So he goes back to New York, and our fasting and prayer began. We prayed every night on the phone together, and we fasted. And at the end of the week, because I want to make this short, I was coming home from work one night. It had to be like 9 something at night. I was a licensed cosmetologist at that time, so I was on my way from work, and as I would normally do, I just start talking to God. I just start talking to the Lord. I started praising and worshiping in the vehicle, and we're at the end of the fast. This is the last day, so I just said to the Lord, I told God my heart, and I said, God, if this man is not my husband, I want you to put it on his heart to say, I know for a fact that you are not my wife, and here's why. That's what I asked God to do for me. I get home. As soon as I opened the door, heard the phone ring. This before I had a cell phone. Heard the phone ring, and I heard my mom, and she's like, oh, hi. You know what? I think I heard her just come in the house. It was him. So I get upstairs, I get the phone, I go up to the 3rd floor and put my stuff down, and he's already talking. So he's like, how'd your day go? Blase, blase. I'm like, everything was good, whatever. How was your day? And just waiting, just anticipating God answering my prayer. So he went on to tell me about this person who had come in. They had a visitor in their church, and this person had been there, I want to say, most of the week. And this particular day, the last day of our fast, this person calls him up to the front and prophesies to him about his wife to be, who his wife would be. And he said to me, he said, I know for a fact that you are not my wife, because this person prophesied whatever, whatever, whatever. Nothing else. I didn't hear nothing else. I put the phone down and started praising God. You have no idea the burden that lifted off of me. I didn't want to marry this man. I was not attracted to him. I wasn't interested in him, but I would have gone along if God had said, this is who I have for you. You know why? Because I trust God, and I trust that he would have changed my heart towards this person. He would have made me see through the eyes of God, this man. He would have made me hear through the ears of God, this man. He would have made me perceive through the heart of God, this man. And I would have been able to bear him. I would have been able to stomach him. I would have been able to be his wife, because I trust God that much. I know it would have worked out had he been the one God had for me. But because he was not, and I believe God answered my prayer, because I didn't say, God, I don't want him. I'm not attracted to him, Father. I don't want to marry him. I didn't do any of that. I simply said, God, if he's not the one, please confirm it by having him say, I know for a fact you are not my wife. And I took it. I got the short end of the stick there. I was the one who was hurt because I knew that if I had been the one to tell him, I know for a fact you are not my husband, it would have crushed him. It would have crushed that man. And I'm not in the business of hurting anybody. I'm just not. And I did not want to do that to him. So I took it on the chin. I was like, God, I'll take it on the chin. I'll take one for the team. Because if he's not my husband, I don't want to be caught up marrying the wrong man. And so he let me down. And what's funny is he was almost, what can I say? He was almost gloating. He was almost gloating. And the day he got married, and we spoke on and off, over the years, we would keep in touch, make sure each other's doing well. And I remember him, we spoke one time later on in life, and he said he was engaged and he was getting married. And we didn't speak for maybe 8 months to a year. And I woke up one morning out of my sleep, picked up the telephone, and dialed his number. He answered the phone. It was the day of his wedding. And he said, I thought you'd call me before now. He wanted me to call and interrupt his plans. He wanted me to call and save him from marrying this woman that he wasn't really attracted to, that he didn't really want to marry. And so what I did instead is I encouraged him to move forward with what God had for him. And I blessed him and sent him on his way. And praise God. The last I saw or heard from him was through Facebook before I canceled my account many years ago. And he was doing well. Okay? So look, let's not just jump into these things. Let's agree agreeably to do what we know would be pleasing in the Father's eyes. Seek God together. If you're planning to marry someone and you're not sure, and even if you are sure, seek God together for confirmation. He'll send 2 or more witnesses to establish his word. You won't regret it. And please don't lie to yourself when you know that you've heard from God. It'll hurt you and cost you a whole lot more if you go into something